Now, it is a condition that affects as many as 1 in 12 boys. But there are fears that many colourblind children are still not being properly diagnosed, and that's now led to more calls for more screening.
Yes, but it's not all bad news for those with the condition, as technology is helping with job prospects. Breakfast's Tim Muffet has been to meet the world's first colourblind tube driver.
Please stand clear and mind the doors. Stand clear and mind the doors. I have a colour vision deficiency, or more commonly known as colour blindness. It's hard for me to distinguish between red and green.
So you might wonder how Alex is allowed to drive a London Underground train. Until recently, he wouldn't have been, because he could have mixed up red and green signals.
It can, halt your career in terms of being a pilot, an electrician, a train driver, obviously, and there should be more awareness and education about it, and maybe look for more solutions.
On the Jubilee line, that's been possible.
The signal used to be, the lights would be here, the signals would be here, and now I would have to stop to these lights. But with this telling me, this allows me to completely drive the train without the need of any signalling. So as I'm driving, the yellow blocks will be pushing up, letting the speed indicate, but I can now not go past that red hand.
Now that we've moved over to more of an automatic operation, we don't actually need our drivers to be able to tell the difference between red and green lights now. We should be looking for ways that we can help people to work regardless of any issues that they might have been born with.
And that's pretty much on the right-hand side of the screen how most colourblind people see the world. So you can see it's pretty murky.
Along with 1 in 12 males, Marcus is colourblind.
These two colours here, I have difficulty with. I thought this whole side was correct.
That's from 3 years ago. Remember that?
Colourblindness happens when colour-sensitive cells in the eyes are missing or don't work properly. But the challenges posed by this genetic fault, which is far more common in men, go way beyond Rubik's Cubes.
I did this worksheet in year 1 where you had to colour in the different balloons. Obviously I thought I'd done it right, but I hadn't, and my teacher marked me down for that.
If colour blindness is not actually picked up at a very early age, children can be labelled naughty or slow or unruly.
The Department of Education says it doesn't consider colourblindness a special educational need or disability. Marie wants that changed, and for mandatory screenings to take place in all schools. Many of the estimated 2.5 million people who have the condition are never diagnosed. Sinead agrees. She has 2 boys who are colourblind.
So many resources now are colour-based, with iPads and all of the printed colour material in the classroom. This has consequences for children, both in terms of their personal self-development and their education.
How old are you, Flynn?
Sinead's children were diagnosed here at the University of Newcastle Medical School, and whilst local authorities do deliver eye checks for young children, there's no routine screening for colour blindness. Many believe its impact is being overlooked. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
Some really fascinating issues that raises, so let's talk about them with Catherine Albany-Ward, who is founder of the organisation Colourblind Awareness. Catherine, good morning to you. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
And you've brought in some props because this is a story that really does need this illustration, doesn't it, to show us quite what people that have colour blindness are dealing with. Just start at the beginning for us about how important it is that we get this right.
It's really important to understand the numbers, first of all, because it affects 1 in 12 boys and men, but only 1 in 200 women. So most parents and teachers don't realise those numbers to start with, and everything in school is colour-coded these days. So it's really important that children can access all the information right from the day they start school to when they pop out at the other end, and that they've got fair access to exam papers, which isn't currently the case.
And how did you come to get involved in campaigning?
Well, because I found out my son was colourblind when he was 7, and it was a massive shock. Had no idea he was colourblind. And when I did a bit of research on it and showed him images of colourblind simulation and normal and said, similar? And he was going, well, they're the same, why? I was just, wow, that's really going to impact on him. And there was no information anywhere at that point in time, so that's how it all started.
And you've brought in these props. I mean, we're just looking at some of these images here, and, you know, we can replicate it with these football socks that you've brought in here. But let's start, first of all, with these that are here on the sofa, because you've just been explaining to me how these all essentially look the same. Just describe what we've got here.
OK, so the first myth is that colourblind people don't see in black and white, and the second myth is they don't just mix up red and green. Mixing up red and green in colourblind terms means that red and green can look the same as that colour.
So what we're saying is that our red sofa will, to someone who has colour blindness, will look like this sort of khaki green colour, and therefore, you know, if we sort of use these as an example as well, the bright red that we might associate with the sofa and other things comes out that sort of green colour.
Yes. So there was a colourblind kit clash yesterday in the Premier League, red against green. Fans went mad because the pitch and the kits all look the same colour as this. There are different types and severities of colour blindness, so not everyone will see exactly the same way, but that's just a general illustration to get the point across, really.
You mentioned at the football, obviously that's, you know, makes it incredibly confusing, but I imagine for a child at school, it's really distressing and could have an impact on their learning.
Yeah, because what they do when the teacher's telling them things based on colour is they instinctively try and work out what the colour is at the expense of listening. And worksheets are all about colour-coded this and that. That's from like reception stage, but all the way through school, right up to exams. Exam papers, even now, are not colourblind friendly. And most children are not being diagnosed anymore. So that was phased out in 2009, based on a study of children born in 1958. When everything was in black and white. So we need screening back in, and we need optometrists to screen children as well, because our studies are showing by the time children hit year 7, secondary school, 80% have never been screened. So the children are not getting the support, and that's partly because teachers aren't trained in how to spot the signs as well.
And you talked there about the world of education, and we heard in that example of the tube driver, so therefore in the world of work. And what, you know, is particularly stark when we talk about the red and green is that those are the colours of traffic lights and stop and go and all of those things that we are so conditioned to see as red and green just don't apply. No, they don't, not necessarily. There are slight changes in colour for traffic lights, so you can tell the green apart, but yeah, fire exit signs, can't necessarily see where they are mounted on a wall and that kind of thing. It affects everything in life. Buying food, cooking food, buying clothes, what clothes to wear, you know, everything. But schooling is really bad because no educational resources have to be colourblind friendly. So it's really simple to make them colourblind friendly by adding text and labels. I mean, the really simple thing I want parents and teachers to take home is if you label pencil crayons with the name of their colour, or you go through educational resources and put symbols or hatching or text or something on, as well as colour, that solves a lot of the problems. People just don't know to do it. So simple changes make a big difference. It's really nice to see you, Catherine. Thanks for explaining all of that and certainly bringing these examples. It really brings it to life. Thanks very much.